Hi, I'm State Senator Alberta Darling from the 8th Senate District, and I just attended Governor Evers' budget address. And boy, he sort of knocked my socks off with the increased spending in the budget. I really thought that he was going to work together with us and the whole legislature to do what's best for Wisconsin families. I thought we were really on the right track in Wisconsin. And the poll from the Marquette said that 54% of Wisconsinites thought that Wisconsin was on the right track. And it's my opinion, and I'm sad to say, that Governor Evers' budget takes us off that track. Because what we did was we lived within our means, we had a balanced budget, we made priority investments in jobs and job creations and education, a record investment in education, and we went forward to grow the economy. In fact, we grew the economy so much it was our largest surplus that I've ever seen. And we gave that surplus to the new governor, and what did the new governor do with it? Spent it, and spent over $6 billion in addition. So that, to me, is the wrong direction. And that's what you as citizens have to realize, that Governor Evers says the right things. He says it's the people's budget. He talks about people he heard from around the state, all well and good, but in the end, he is putting a burden on the taxpayer of $1,000 per person, man, woman, and child, of new spending. I don't know many people who say, you know what, Governor Evers, I want you to charge my family $4,000 more of new spending. I don't know anybody who'll say that. I think that that's very much the wrong track. He wants to do investments in education, and I agree. We need to invest in education. In fact, he talked about funding 2/3 of the cost of education, which was our original goal under Governor Thompson. I agree with that. That's a very good goal, but he doesn't say that. He talks about much more spending in education. And when the MacIver Foundation told us that 54 cents on the dollar goes into the classroom, what happens to the other 46 cents on the dollar? It goes to the bureaucracy. And I think we have to be very careful about the money that we spend, and very, very favorably toward education, but we have to make sure that the money is going to good use. And in addition to that, this is going to be the largest increase in property taxes that we've seen in 8 years. We really held down property taxes, and I heard in my district that was very much appreciated. I think that the holding the line on taxes and spending, and holding the line on property taxes especially, were really main priorities that I heard about from my individuals. And yet Governor Evers calls it the people's budget, and yet he spends so much more, and he disregards holding the line on property taxes. One thing I do agree with is holding a freeze on the tuition, not to increase tuition, because we need to have more and more of our families be able to afford higher education. That's all well and good. So we agree with that. Let's look at some other issues we could agree with. He talks about corrections reform. And I very much agree that we need to reform a lot that we do with corrections so that we get people out of prison and onto jobs and family supporting wages so they can live a meaningful life. But what he talks about that I don't agree with is he wants to not close Lincoln Hills on a timely basis. And we have found that there was almost universal agreement that Lincoln Hills was broken and that we needed to have a new facility. And we had a task force, and I served on that task force. And we looked at alternative sites, and we looked at alternative ways to create an institution that was appropriate for rehabilitation of these offenders that are very serious offenders. And he's postponing that decision, which I think is a mistake. There are other things that we could say we agree on, but what I don't agree on is taking away drug testing as a requirement for work. And he's also expanding welfare, which I don't think is really in what our citizens want to see. And when we were on the right road to increase our jobs and job growth, we had a very big investment in job security and also for job training. I don't see a lot of job training in emphasis on in Governor Evers' budget. What I'd also like to mention is right now we've got to seriously ask ourselves, what are we going to do with this budget? And I can assure you, we're not going to tax and spend our way into the future. We're going to go forward on Wisconsin.